and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Melissa, but if you are one of my enchanting subscribers and you've been following along, then you already know that you can call me Missy. Additionally, if you are one of my subscribers and you're a little bit nosy and you went down into the descriptions and you clicked on all my links and you've scrolled a bit through those links, I don't know, it's kind of hidden, but then you might be aware that I have a series of artworks portraying herbs and spices as people. Also a bunch of plants. Also a few of them as dinosaurs. But we're focusing on the herbs and spices. And since I am well aware that most of you are not well aware of this series, let me introduce you to my ladies.
These are my ladies. This is Jill. This is my lady Amy. Little Susie. Brianna. You know why we call her Brianna, right? Yeah, it's a long story. Shaniqua, Helga, Jeannie. I dream of Teresa. This is Teresa right here.
Now is that your
Dirty girl. This spot is for my special lady, Leah. I'm gonna say that one more time. Leah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to be designing another one of these stickers, but this time I'm going to be painting it. Those other pictures were pen drawings with colored pencil. Let's get into the video.
What does day one have in store for us? You ask yourself as you watch this video. Art. We're starting the process of art, the art process, the process that we go through to make art. That process. For this particular series, I tend to start out with a face. And when I was wondering how to get a face, I was thinking it might be interesting to try and use my own face. It's been a while since I've done a self-portrait. And so I was thinking, much like copying somebody else's homework, I could copy my own face, but then change it up just a little bit so it's not quite my face. So that's kind of the exercise that we're going to be doing today. I'm going to start with some sketching, and then once I have an idea of what I want this piece to kind of look like, I can move on to painting. So let's get to work.
The first step in this process is to look at our safety concerns, but charcoal, which is what I'm about to start with, isn't really dangerous to me, but it might pose a threat to this outfit, so I put on an apron before sitting down to get to work. I have this oversized sketch pad that I got at a yard sale, and it was a really good deal. It was like 50 cents, which obviously was a good reason to purchase it, but another reason that I bought it was because it already had some children's drawings in it, and yeah, I don't know if it's weird that that's part of what sold me on it, but it did, and they're still in there, and I haven't torn them out yet. I don't know why. I don't ever really look at them. They just kind of exist as part of this object's history. I don't know. I know that I didn't get my likeness perfectly within this drawing, but the point of it was A, a warm-up, and B, a jumping off point for this part, which is me altering the features on my face a little bit in order to make it look like a different face. And I also started to play with how I would incorporate the plant element, which is going to be sage. I love my sage plant because it's the only plant that I've been able to grow from a seedling. Now you might be wondering why I'm cutting this plexiglass, and that's because that's what I'm going to be painting on. I went ahead and cut it to the dimensions I wanted and sanded it down to give it just a little bit of tooth for the paint to adhere to. And the last thing I wanted to do before I went to bed was just add a quick wash of color to the background to make sure that we had some nice even tones, something interesting to work with color-wise. So of course I added this murky swamp water color to the background.
Last night, after I went ahead and glazed this to tint it this darker green color, I decided to go ahead and play with this portrait of myself that I had done. So that's what it looks like right now. I'm not so sure that it looks that much like me, but it's a fun exercise anyways. And of course, I had gotten this done, which doesn't proportionally give me an idea of how big the face will be, because I think it needs to be a lot smaller up on here to work. This being oil paint, it is not quite dry, but I'm hoping that it is relatively dry enough that I can at least keep going, add some stuff. I just kind of have a vague idea of what I want this to look like. So hopefully this all turns out in the end and it looks good, but we won't know until we get to the end of the video. So let's keep going. I was just about to use some paint to sketch out the face, and then I could start adding some background ambiance, etc. But my brain, functioning as it should, realized that this is translucent, and therefore I could potentially sketch this out again, but within the correct proportions of what I'd like it to look like, and then just trace over it because, again, it is translucent. So I think that I'm going to try and do that. So here I go.
And so began the part of the process where I actually had to make some compositional ideas. At first, I thought I wanted a full body painting, but as I worked on that, I realized that the face would be smaller than I wanted, because in the end, this is a continuation, or I guess maybe more of a branch on my series that focuses on the face. And so I ended up spending way too long trying to fit more of the body in the picture before realizing that it would not work, and I should have known that all along. I don't hate how the bodies work in these pictures. I think they could have been better if I had maybe used a reference. But there you have it, a little nightmare fuel. And so, as you can probably guess, this is me starting over, making the face the focus of this piece. After I had a pencil sketch that I was mostly happy with, I went ahead and traced over it with a black Sharpie just to make it easier to see through that tinted plexiglass that I will be painting on eventually. Now at this point you might have noticed that my substrate is a lot longer than the paper that I drew on, so I'm going to need to fill out some things on the bottom half of this painting as well. I decided to add a hand, which isn't the thing that I am best at painting. I can draw hands well enough, but painting them, not so much. It's also been a while since I practiced drawing hands. Can you tell I'm feeling defensive about the hand? It's not that bad, but it's also not that good. So just don't look at the hand.
Another day, another day. I think it's day 3. Yesterday, I didn't do any work because I was just feeling really weirdly tired. So, you know what? Take a break when you feel like you need one, I think is probably an okay thing sometimes.
Of course, it's an okay thing.
Do I really think it's an okay thing? I don't know. I'm a born and raised American. That's all I know. So I came into my studio yesterday morning before not doing any work, and I noticed this couple of drips that happened. So apparently when I was diluting my paint, I went a little too far, used a little too much walnut oil, and this is the result. So I am going to need to go over that. I do also need to go over the background and also the eyeballs. I don't know why I often make eyeballs the last thing that I paint, but everything looks really weird and creepy before you do the eyeballs, and I just torture myself by not doing it because I look at the painting, I'm like, it looks so wrong, and then I do the eyeballs and I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't put eyes in. The soul was empty. Anyways, I also realized as I was looking at the drips and wondering why I am the way that I am, I realized that one thing I could have been doing that might have worked out better is if I had used this product instead of the walnut oil, it would have dried faster because it does have some component to it. I don't know what this is, but it thins your paint. It doesn't make it more liquidy because it is more of a gel. It translucifies your paint and also helps it to dry faster, which were the two things that maybe would have helped in this project. So let's get to work before I make a fool of myself. Too late to work.
I ordered some glow-in-the-dark pigment powder from Culture Hustle recently, and they sent me this free sample of orange powder. It's like forbidden Cheeto dust. Anyways, I thought I would try something crazy and use it in this project, so I started mixing it up with some walnut oil, and I had some of that gold pigment in my landscaping video that I had used, and I thought it mixed up together really smoothly with my paint, so this orange should work as well. But it ended up being really gritty. I think perhaps I should have used a muller. I think that's what it's called. It kind of looks like a glass pestle from a mortar and pestle situation. And it's used to mix pigments into oil for oil paints. I imagine it would have done a good job grinding down some of the grit that was in it. That's all I was getting at. I ended up using it a little bit in the background anyways, and it did leave a texture. So anyways, this is what it looked like after one layer of paint. I went in to add another layer and also to cover up those drips that I mentioned earlier. I wanted to add some highlights and build some dimension in some of the shadows. You know, just start to refine the shapes a bit. Okay, now, so remember when I told you to ignore the hand? Sorry, this part's gonna make that a little difficult. It's kind of the focus. But don't worry, we're gonna move away from that real soon and start working on the eyeballs. I'm just being a baby about the cold. New day, who dis? I don't know what I'm saying. I have this beauty ready to be worked on. Thanks to me telling myself to use this stuff, it is dry today. Oh, it wasn't yesterday. It was the day before. Did I skip a day again? I don't know what's going on. Here she is so far. I am loving how she looks. She looks a lot different up against the light, and I am going to paint, I think, the backside to help with some of that. I was feeling a little insecure about how dark the whole thing is. All of the colors are very moody, but I also kind of like it. I don't know. There are things that I've tried with color on this that I've never tried before, and I'm just gonna keep working on her. By this point, I had most of the painting done pretty much to my satisfaction. I had toyed with the idea of blending in some of the colors, some of the brush strokes, but I kind of like the way that brush strokes visually blend together because of the way our brain likes to perceive color and light and all of those things when they're next to each other. So I do kind of prefer the texture of brush strokes most of the time. Anyways, as you can see, today was all about texture, and more particularly the texture in the leaves. So if you have grown or seen or used culinary sage, then you'll notice that it has a little bit of a fuzzy kind of texture, but it's also really bumpy. I don't know, I think they're really cute, but the bumpy, fuzzy texture is pretty important, I feel. And I thought that it would be interesting to go ahead and stipple all of the leaves with a couple different colors to try and add some dimension and some shape a little bit. So that's what I did. I even ended up cutting the bristles of one of my flat brushes to give me a nice round top to stipple with. I'm not sure how well this worked. Maybe if I had a better brush it would be better, but I think it worked well enough. And in this case, I was okay with the leaves having a really other quality to them, with the harsh outline and just a lot of visual elements that kind of clash, but in my opinion, in a good way.
Hello. So this is our last day. I feel like in this video, it's just been me becoming more and more disheveled as things go because I'm just in my pajamas today. I didn't feel like getting dressed. It felt like too much of a barrier before getting started on my day. So I just didn't change out of my pajamas. I might do that later. What have we got going on today? So when I cut the piece of plastic that I painted on at the beginning of this video, I had the dimensions of this frame, which I had got at the Goodwill outlet, also known as the bins. And so my intention was to put that painting in this frame from the start. However, it obviously doesn't have glass. It doesn't have any backing. So I'm going to need to cut some kind of a backing. And then instead of painting the back of my artwork as I had said that I would do, I'm going to instead cover that backing with some white paper, and then voila, I don't have to do any more painting because then I'd have to wait for it to dry and then I could photograph it. And that's just many more steps than I need to do. The other thing that I had intended to do with this artwork was get a photo of it on the computer and then design some kind of a border to go around it so that it can be turned into a label for my sage, my jar of sage that I have in my kitchen that I cook with. I don't know if I have time to do that sticker border this week, but I fear that if I don't do it now, then it just won't get done. So I'm going to try and get that done as well. So now we have all of our tasks outlined for the day. Let's get to work.
My first task is finding some cardboard that'll fit in this frame. I think I have some cardboard that used to be backing for like very large sketchbooks / drawing books in here somewhere. So I'm going in. I knew I had some. Okay, here it is. I need to cut this down.
With my paper and my cardboard all cut out, I was ready to just glue the paper to the back, and I just used some regular school glue. PVA glue, I think is what it's technically called. So we'll call it that instead so that I sound sophisticated and whatnot. I went ahead and cleaned up some of my stuff, for which I will pat myself on the back because cleaning up after myself as I go is one of the things I'm working on. I then moved my easel to the other side of the room for lighting purposes before I grabbed my camera and set it up. Not only is this angle better for natural light, but I also have all of those lights on the other side of my room that I have hanging from that pole, if you've seen that in other shots. And the bulbs I use with that lighting rig are different warmths, so I have warmer and cooler lights that I can change the lighting in that room as I need to. Anyways, I got my photo onto the computer and then went ahead and tried to crop it down so that it was the right dimensions and the right shape before bringing the whole thing on into Photoshop so that I could design a sticker. After going through some of the standard fonts that are on my computer, I decided to go online and find some free fonts that I felt would work better. And after some fiddling with colors and texture effects, I was just about ready for the reveal.
And there you have it, all done. I am really thrilled with how it turned out. I tried a lot of things that are new, that are different. I tried using colors that I wouldn't normally use, and also this really dark palette is really different for me. And I'm super pleased with her. She is a little cross-eyed, I will give her that. But you know what? In real life, people are a little cross-eyed, and that's okay. And they can still be beautiful, and they can still be beautiful works of art. So I don't really have a problem with that. I also obviously painted the frame and added her in there. And I have found a place in my home that I'm actually gonna be hanging her up. So you'll see that in a later video. That is, if you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed, maybe think about pressing that subscribe button for me. If you enjoyed this one and you think she's pretty and you think I'm pretty, or maybe you're just pretty yourself, then maybe you should just subscribe. Thank you so much for watching to the end of that video. If you liked anything about that video, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you would like to support my channel or me as an artist in any other way, you can go ahead and leave a comment down below. Today, I'm going to ask, if you are not sure what to comment, that maybe you can vote on which one of those sticker designs that I showed you like better, whether it's the cream background one or the blue background one. And I hope you can't hear my kids because they're screaming in the next room. But that's okay, they're kids, let them live. Anyways, it's been a lovely time. I hope you had a lovely time, and that I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Big. It's gonna fall in my mug. No, I have to put the mug down. At least I didn't drop my microphone in there, which I would have done if my brains weren't working better. Yeah, that's what she looks like with light passing through. Not great. Maybe I'll start over again after I get my tea. It's hard to hold things with the mic. Ooh.